Major Newscast.
Good evening, I am Marvin Ross in with your VON Major News Package for today, Wednesday, 21st August 2019. In our lead stories nationally, Nevis Island Administration issues checks to Four Seasons resort workers affected by temporary closure, and Sandy Point man wanted for murder. Regionally, court case begins Thursday for tourists accused of manslaughter in Anguilla. Internationally, China threatens sanctions over U.S.-Taiwan arms deal. And in our sporting news segment, Singis Nevis Patriots to start CPL campaign in Nevis. We will have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back and on to our national news segment. Checks to assist the near 400 affected workers of the Four Seasons Resort Nevis were handed out today, August 21st, at the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall in Charlestown. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance here on Nevis, Mr. Colin Dorr, highlighted the importance of the NIA's decision to assist the workers and said, and I quote, "This initiative was part of the administration's quest to provide some measure of relief, especially for persons who would have to be facing expenditure in relation to back to school for their children." End quote. The 2019-2020 academic school year begins on Monday, 2nd September. On June 1st, 2019, the resort temporarily closed its doors for a 4-month period to accommodate construction work. The Four Seasons Resort will reopen on October 2019. And this resulted in the affected workers receiving 25% of their salaries. To provide some relief to the affected workers, Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance in the Nevis Island Administration, NIA, made a public announcement of the administration's intention to assist the workers a few days before by providing an additional payment of 1,000 EC dollars. And one man on St. Kitts is wanted by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. A release from the force indicates that multiple warrants exist for the arrest of 19-year-old Tiquan Murray of Fixed Tree, Sandy Point, St. Kitts. He is wanted for 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder, which was committed on June 6, 2017 in St. Paul's. Murray is slim-built, 5 feet 10 inches in height, weighs 142 pounds, has brown eyes, black hair, and light brown in complexion. The authorities are advising anyone who sees him or knows of his whereabouts to contact the Violent Crimes Unit at 465-1887, the nearest police station, or the crime hotline at 707. Students attending primary schools in the St. John's and St. Paul's parishes will benefit from a back-to-school program launched by Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Grantley. Students of the Cicely Brown Integrated Charlestown Primary, Mount Cross Preparatory, Ivor Walters Primary, Elizabeth Pemberton, Montessori Academy, and the Nevis Academy schools will be beneficiaries of the Believe in Yourself back-to-school program launched in 2016 by the Premier. The initiative is designed to provide every primary school child in the constituency which he is representing with a back-to-school backpack. A presentation ceremony to the various institutions was done by Junior Minister the Honorable Troy Liburd on Premier Brantley's behalf on Tuesday, 20th August 2019.
For 3 years now, the Honorable Mark Brantley has done the Believe in Yourself Backpack initiative to give a jump start to the students in the primary schools within the areas that he represents. This year, the commitment is a commitment in excess of 12,000 US dollars. It is expected to reach more than 800 students, but it is something that he is happy to do.
That is the Honorable Troy Liburd. Schools across Nevis will reopen on Monday, 2nd September 2019 for the commencement of the 2019-2020 academic school year. Teachers are expected to turn out next week in preparation for the new school year. And a new terminal building to accommodate the second cruise pier and to further modernize the tourism industry in the Twin Island Federation will be constructed by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. That's according to Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd. He stated that after the completion of the second pier, the next step is to construct a new terminal building. Minister Liburd said that the purpose of the new terminal building will be to accommodate the new arrivals on the new ships and to eliminate congestion diverging from the terminal. He also said the government took into consideration the taxi drivers and tour operators and as such will make accommodation for a dispatch terminal that will be constructed east of Port Zante to comfortably accommodate the taxi operators and independent tour operators. The St. Christopher Air and Seaport Authority's CASPA will assume full control of the operations at the terminal in keeping with its mandate as the port's authority. And government officials, industry leaders, and other stakeholders are currently participating in a broadband strategy consultation to improve broadband connectivity issues here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The conference, which began on Tuesday, 20th August, will conclude on Friday, 23rd August, is being held at the Solid Waste Management Corporation Conference Room. Leading the 3 days of discussion is Dr. Martin Koyeb, Manager of Technical Support and Consultancy Division at the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization, CTO. Key areas that will be considered include cybersecurity, data protection and privacy, and how it affects broadband development and the usage of broadband, open access in relation to the types of equipment and products offered by various service providers, and facilitating competitive markets to ensure that the environment is competitive and investors are able to get returns on their investments in the development of broadband in the Twin Island Federation. Attorney General and Minister of Communications, the Honorable Vincent Barwin Jr., speaking ahead of the event, noted that earlier this year, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis engaged the services of international firm Deloitte and Touche to assist in developing a digital transformation strategy that will enable public sector agencies to serve visitors more efficiently and effectively. He further expressed that the government will continue to invest in technology projects such as the government-wide area network, which enhances connectivity between public sector agencies as a means of increasing digital services to nationals and residents at home and abroad. And Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, CVO, QC, JP, will be conferred with the Doctor of Laws LLD degree for public service. A release from the University of the West Indies indicates that 11 persons will receive honorary degrees during the 2019 graduation ceremonies at several campuses of the university. The UWI's 2019 graduation ceremonies begin for the open campus at Antigua and Barbuda on October 12, 2019. At this graduation, the only graduate will be the Excellency Sir Seaton, who will be conferred with the Doctor of Laws LLD degree for public service. Other graduation ceremonies will take place at the Caveville campus on October 19th, the St. Augustine campus on October 24th to the 26th, and the Mona campus, that is, on November 1st and 2nd, 2019. Finally, in our national news segment, according to a release from the Nevis Island Administration NIA, dated August 21st, 2019, Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley's press conference has been rescheduled. The Office of the Premier informs that the press conference, which was slated for the month of August, will be held in early September 2019. At the next press conference, the Honorable Premier will update citizens and residents of the Federation on matters of national interest. Members of the press corps will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions for the listening and the viewing public. And that concludes our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can visit our social media page on Facebook at Von Radio, and also our YouTube channel at Von Radio for these and other stories. News from across the region comes up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's another one for the steppers.
Swipe to win big in 2019. That's right, the Bank of Nevis Limited is once again giving you, our valued customers, a chance to win big. Just swipe or use your Bond Visa credit card for US $100 for a chance to win a cruise for two, an iPhone XS, or a grocery dash at Best Buy Supermarket.
Say what?
Sign up for a Bond Visa credit card and automatically be entered for a chance to win. This offer ends August 31st, 2019. So tell your friends and family to swipe to win big with the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram.
Welcome back and on to our regional news segment. The Scott Hapgood case is due to be held in court in Anguilla on Thursday, August 22nd. Hapgood is accused of killing an employee at a Malihuana resort on April 13th this year whilst on holiday with his wife and two daughters. He was in Anguilla on Monday this week for a few hours before the formal proceedings on Thursday. On the August 20th CBS morning show, Hapgood described the past 4 months as terrible, but he said he hoped that his name would be cleared. The deceased hotel worker is Kenny Mitchell, who reportedly went to Hapgood's room at around 4 p.m. to fix a broken sink. A fight ensued, and the autopsy report shows that Mitchell was beaten and choked to death. 4 days later, Hapgood was charged with manslaughter, but was granted bail in the High Court in the sum of US $74,000 and left the island. Many Anguillans were angry over this case and were skeptical that Hapgood would return for his court appearance. He is back in the U.S. but is expected to return in Anguilla today, Wednesday, ahead of the court hearing. And in the news out of St. Lucia, the Caribbean Union of Teachers, CUT, believes that Caribbean governments are continuing to illegally outsource the labor of teachers when it comes to the marking of school-based assessments, SBAs. The 39th biennial, that is the biennial conference for the CUT, was held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines recently between August 4th and 9th. During this conference, the union discussed a number of issues affecting teachers and education in general, according to their General Secretary, Don Howell. Howell, a St. Lucian, in an interview with Searchlight last week, informed that the marking of SBAs for the Caribbean Examination Council, CXC, was also a subject on the agenda. He said that CXC, and I quote, pays for one aspect of the examination, yet they refuse to pay for another aspect of it, end quote. The fight against non-payment for SBA marking has been ongoing for more than 10 years, according to the General Secretary, and individual unions within the territories are using various avenues to address the issue. Health and safety was another issue highlighted at the conference. And in news out of Venezuela, Venezuela's embattled President Nicolas Maduro said he had been in talks with the Trump administration for months, even as the U.S. ramped up its sanctions. The U.S. is one of more than 50 nations which do not recognize Mr. Maduro as Venezuela's legitimate leader. It imposed sweeping sanctions earlier this month aimed at increasing pressure on President Maduro to step down. But on Tuesday, Mr. Maduro confirmed that talks with the Trump administration had been ongoing for months. Speaking on television, Mr. Maduro said, and I quote, "Just as I have sought dialogue in Venezuela, I have sought a way in which President Trump really listens to Venezuela, end quote. President Trump confirmed on Tuesday that his administration was talking to various representatives in Venezuela. And finally, in our regional news segment, out of Puerto Rico. Weeks after Wanda Vasquez was sworn in as Puerto Rico's governor, the former Justice Secretary sat down with NBC 6's sister station, Telemundo 51, for an exclusive interview and outlined her plans for the island following political turmoil. Among her top priorities, Vasquez says she'd like the opportunity to meet with President Donald Trump.
Para que él vea quién es el pueblo puertorriqueño.
I want him to see who the Puerto Rican people are. Our people are honest, humble, and in need of the aid he authorized. We need that help to arrive on the island.
The Puerto Rican governor hopes to secure federal hurricane recovery funds and insisted many on the island are still struggling to recover from the Category 4 storm that hit in September 2017. Contrary to her predecessor, Ricardo Rosello, Vasquez says she is inclined toward Republican philosophies.
Tengo mi inclinación a la filosofía republicana.
I am inclined toward Republican philosophies like individual rights, reduced government, that there aren't unreasonable tax increases, basically a focus on economic development.
That is Puerto Rican Governor Wanda Vasquez. That concludes our regional news segment. The international news comes up next as the VON Major News Package continues. Welcome back and on to the latest international news. China has threatened to impose sanctions on the U.S. firms involved with the sale of F-16 fighter planes to Taiwan if Washington goes ahead with the deal. Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang urged the U.S. to stop the arms sales and any military contact with Taiwan. The U.S. government has approved the possible $8 billion deal involving 66 aircraft, the biggest in decades. The BBC's Cindy Su reports.
A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman on Wednesday urged the U.S. to immediately cancel the planned arms sale and cut military contact with Taiwan. He warned China would take all necessary measures to safeguard its interests, including imposing sanctions on the U.S. companies participating in this arms sale. The spokesman says the sale is a serious interference in China's internal affairs, undermines its sovereignty and security interests.
And migrant families who cross the southern border of the U.S. illegally could be detained indefinitely under a new regulation announced by the Trump administration. It replaces an agreement that set a limit on how long the government could hold migrant children in custody. The move was announced by Acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan and is due to come into effect in 60 days. It is expected to face legal challenge. And General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of Sudan's now defunct military council, was sworn in as head of the newly formed Sovereign Council in front of the head of the country's judiciary. Burhan was dressed in military uniform at the swearing-in ceremony held at the presidential palace in Khartoum. The remaining 10 members of the Sovereign Council will be sworn in later on today. Prime Minister nominee Abdallah Hamdok is also expected to be sworn in later today. More in this BBC report.
Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah Abderrahman Burhan, who was dressed in his full military uniform, will lead the Sovereign Council, which is the highest authority in Sudan. Other members of the council, which is made up of 6 civilians from the opposition alliance and 5 military officers, have also been sworn in today, while new Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, who once served as the head of the United Nations Commission for Africa, is due to take his oath later Wednesday. The swearing-in followed a power-sharing deal between the military and civilian opposition alliance at the weekend. The deal will also see the rotation of the chairmanship over the next 3 years and paves way for elections and civilian rule.
And finally, in our international news segment, Indonesia has deployed more troops to West Papua as demonstrations calling for the region's independence spread. Government buildings have been torched and reports of unrest believe earlier assurances by the government that the unrest had been contained. The BBC's Catherine Davis reports.
In the latest unrest, around 1,000 people took to the streets of Timaka City in Papua province, holding banners and shouting, "We are not monkeys." There were protests again in West Papua too, in the town of Fakfak, with local market stalls reportedly set alight. A spokesman for Indonesia's police force said the situation was now generally under control. There's been a simmering separatist movement in Papua for decades. The latest anger appears to have been triggered by allegations of racism against Papuan students in East Java.
That concludes our international news segment. The latest sporting news comes up next.
TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis, your one-stop shop for all your school supply needs. Get bundle savings on backpack and computer packages, but save 20% off all back-to-school materials and printers. Back-to-school shopping is made easy at TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis. See stores for details.
Welcome back and on to the latest sporting news. In a local cricket, as the 2019 Caribbean Premier League CPL is set to begin the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots will commence their campaign with a warm-up match in Nevis. The match will be played on Thursday 29th August at the El Camino T-Willett Park and is set to commence at 2 p.m. They will come up against the Premier's 11, which will feature some of Nevis's finest young players such as Adelvin Phillip, Jamie Cornelius, Ross Powell, Giovanni Tyson, and more. The Patriots will feature players such as Evan Lewis, Carlos Brathwaite, Rassi van der Dusen, and Sheldon Cottrell. And in more cricketing news, England will host West Indies, Australia, Pakistan, and Ireland in men's international matches next year. West Indies and Pakistan both visit for 3 tests as part of the World Test Championship, while Pakistan will also play 3 T20 internationals. After this summer's Ashes series, Australia returned in 2020 to play 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20s. World Cup winners England will then host Ireland in 3 ODIs in September. The first international match of the summer sees England host West Indies in the first test at the Oval starting on June 4th. The second test will be at Edgbaston before the final test at Lord's, with Joe Root's side looking to regain the Wisden Trophy after a 2-1 defeat in the West Indies earlier this year. Lord's, Old Trafford and Trent Bridge will host the 3 test matches against Pakistan in July and August, with the past 2 series between the sides in England having been drawn. And in some football news, the proposed stadium site for David Beckham's Inter Miami franchise in the MLS has arsenic contamination levels more than twice the legal limit, says an environmental report. Melreese Golf Course has been closed until further notice by Miami's City Council after the findings. Plans are in place to build a stadium, shopping mall, hotel and public park on the site as part of a $1 billion development. Long-term exposure to the chemical arsenic can lead to a variety of chronic health conditions, including skin disorders, cancers of the lungs and bladder, and cardiovascular issues. environmental firm EE&G, commissioned by Inter Miami, found barium and lead levels also exceed legal limits. The site used to be a waste site for incinerator ash. A deal to build a stadium for Inter Miami on the proposed Miami Freedom Park has not yet been finalized. And finally, in our sporting news segment, in some basketball news, the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday unveiled a new Purple Classic Edition uniform to be worn during the 2019-2020 season in association with official jersey patch pattern Lending Tree. Like the teal and white versions of the last two seasons, the uniform echoes the design worn by the original Charlotte Hornets. The 2019-2020 season marks the 25th anniversary of the debut of the purple uniforms during the 1994-1995 season. The Hornets are scheduled to wear the Purple Classic Edition uniforms for 5 home games this season: Saturday 9th November against the New Orleans Pelicans, Friday 27th December against the Oklahoma City Thunder, Saturday 22nd February against the Brooklyn Nets, Saturday 7th March against Houston Rockets, and Saturday 28th March against the Los Angeles Clippers. Based on the uniform worn during the Hornets' first decade, the Purple Classic Edition jersey includes the familiar crossover V-neck and multicolored pinstripes in blue, that is in light blue, royal blue, green, and teal. The shorts feature the classic Hornets logo on the waist and the same white, purple, and teal trim as the original. That is the latest sporting news. The latest weather forecast comes up next. And your weather forecast for today reads: some relevant moisture and instability from a tropical wave will maintain a moderate chance of showers across the region tonight into Thursday morning. Thereafter, the chances of showers will be reduced to low. Tonight will be partly cloudy to cloudy with a 60% or moderate chance of showers. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy to cloudy with a 60% chance of showers during the morning and a 30% or low chance of showers during the afternoon. The winds are east to southeast at 15 to 26 kilometers per hour or 8 to 14 knots. Seas 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Your sunrise for tomorrow will be at 5 minutes before the 6 o'clock hour. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 21st August 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, the Nevis Island Administration issues checks to Four Seasons workers affected by temporary closure, and the Sandy Point man wanted for murder. Regionally, court case begins on Thursday for tourists accused of manslaughter in Anguilla. Internationally, China threatens sanctions over U.S.-Taiwan arms deal. And in sports, St. Nevis Patriots to start CPL campaign in Nevis. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Marvin Ross, and I'm wishing you a pleasant evening.